Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Indeed, I know who is watching, who is listening. There are those who would wonder about channeling. How removed is the entity you are channeling from the planet's difficulties? How removed from everyday life of everyday human? It's a good question. For there has been training for years and years that would say that if you're going to be a spiritual person, and if you're going to ally yourself with that which you believe is spirit or God or the other side of the veil, you're talking to that energy, that creative source, which doesn't really have much to do with you. That's the training. That God is over there and you're over here. Well, the things on the other side of the veil, where they're in a very special place that have nothing to do with the planet. Oh, if you knew. But let me just tell you this. You are so well known. I want you to remember something. Each of you has what is called a soul, and you know this. No matter what spiritual system you belong to, there's a soul. There's an idea that there is more to you than just the human body. And if you were defining a soul, there would be many definitions, because it's not really something definable. Not definable in the dimensionality that you live in. You would have to have a multidimensional language, a perception, a knowing, in order to fully see what the soul was. If you could see what it was, it would take your breath away. It truly would. You are a magnificent being, and that includes an eternal soul. It sits upon that which is the three-dimensional body in a way that you're not even aware of. Some believe a soul is got to be somewhere else, and that you leave and you come to the planet and you exist and then you go back to the soul. Oh no. You ride in that soul. Part of that riding, the word that's even used, the vehicle, the Merkaba or Merkaba, is part of this experience, a multidimensionality that is beyond anything you can think about. Remarkable it is, and the reason I'm telling you is because for the first time in this new energy, you are starting to use pieces and parts of it that you never did before. The first remarkable thing that you should know that is current for your time is that you're actually here, that you made it past the predictions of doom. These predictions, by the way, were given to you by the ancients of your land, the ancients of many lands in the northern hemisphere as well, who said that when they watch the stars, they see cycles. And the cycles correspond to human consciousness. And so many of them have made predictions based upon the cycles. The most well-known in the northern hemisphere are the Maya. But there are more than that say the same thing. When you take a look at your Western scriptures, almost all of them told you about the cycle. And they pinpointed certain dates, an average always, centered around the year 2000. And they said you probably would not make it. What we have told you before, and what you don't know, is there have been other civilizations before you on this planet who also had their cycles. The cycles always based upon the stars. And they didn't make it. or they almost didn't make it and then generated another civilization. Kryon, you talk in puzzles. I'm telling you this, dear ones. You think that you are the only civilization, that you started 5,000 years ago. That's not accurate. Put a few zeros on it and come to that which is 50,000, 40,000. That's how long humanity has been here, going through cycles that you don't even know about. The end of the current one, predicted in the year 2000, said you wouldn't be here. Go find your scriptures and you'll see. The chapters that talk about the end times, they give metaphors of the end, where the eagle and the bear would come together and nothing would be left. They speak of world wars. They speak of you not existing. And you're here. The first remarkable thing that is so current is that you made it. And if you don't think that's remarkable, go study the scriptures. And you will find that there really was no predictions past the year 2000 of what you were going to do, because you were not expected to be here. Go read even those predictions of Nostradamus and some others, and you will find that not much is happening to you in those scriptures and quatrains past 2012. Remarkably, something took place. Remarkably, it took place in that space of time which was called the precession of the equinoxes. It's a 36-year window, note divisible by 12, that is a special window of time and allowance and consciousness that even the ancients predicted. And in that time frame, this planet started to shift and change. This is when the Soviet Union ceased to exist. It's when the Berlin Wall fell down almost overnight by itself. I arrived in 1989. The same time all of this was happening, because the marker was set. You were going to stay. There would be no Third World War. There would be no Armageddon, as you were told. And you would start another kind of existence, and we labeled it. A few years ago, we told you past 2012, if you should make it, you would have the new normal. That particular phrase has now been picked up even by your media. The new normal is here. And that new normal is what I'm going to talk about in the remarkable things. And yes, I will talk about COVID, dear ones, a little later. But right now, the most remarkable thing is this, is that humanity went through this cycle. And it wasn't really predicted you would. Some of you know of what I speak. There are those who still say you're going to terminate because you didn't at the right time, the time allotted for it. They say, well, it's just later. It's coming. You wait and see. So those who will then predict your demise are expecting it. What do you think that does to a psyche, a human body, a consciousness, when they don't think they're going to make it? Or they don't think their families are going to make it? You know who they are. You've seen them. I want to tell you something that is absolutely stellar and remarkable. Your magnificence is starting to show. The things that the ancients have talked about, and the gurus and the lamas, are absolutely correct. That consciousness and love and compassion are going to start showing. And that these will be part of the new normal in ways you have never seen before. And they're going to shock you because they're going to happen in areas of your own civilization that you don't expect them to. I've given many channels about what to expect in the new normal. Over and over, I've told you that people will start acting differently because the expectations are starting to rise. The expectations, expecting what? Expecting government will start working in a sensible way. That's not something that any civilization expects, dear ones. You're not alone in that. Everyone expects that government will have some form of dysfunction, of corruption, of greed. What if that starts to change? What if clearer heads prevail? And what you start seeing is benevolence and caring and laws starting to be passed for those that are different than before because they're starting to care more or see things clearer than they did before. The first place you may see it is how candidates actually will campaign. We have told you this before. In your country, in my partner's country, there will be those who will campaign on love. And I will tell you, they will not criticize their opponent. They will congratulate their opponent. They will build up their component and they'll say, but I have a different idea. Listen, this is where we differ. And you will say, that's not going to work. Because you'll say, that's not the way politics works. Kryon, you have to understand who we are here on the planet. I'll tell you, I understand who you are. And when you see it, the first time, I will tell you, those candidates probably won't win. But they're starting to garner something you didn't expect. Support for the attitude. An expectation that the good guys are out there and they might actually have good ideas. More than that, they'll campaign on benevolence and magnificence instead of just the other way around. I've just given you worst case scenario politics so that you'll understand a new normal could be this way. I have more to talk about on that one in the next 3. The things you don't expect that might actually start to come to fruition. Corporations who care. Government that actually starts to care. Because it starts to have those infiltrating in important places that are part of the new normal, that have a higher consciousness, that some of the young people are starting to demand. And as you start to see this, there will be an overwhelming idea you want more. Instead of, isn't that interesting, that'll never work, you're going to go, oh my, what if, what if? And that is what's going to start to come about. Kryon, how soon? How long will it take? That's up to you. But right now, we are congratulating you for surviving. That prediction of a world war, that prediction of an Armageddon, none of that took place, dear ones, and it won't. Well, how does that all fit in with the COVID? I'll get there. This is the beginning of a cycle that the indigenous have expected. This is not a surprise. Many of the indigenous will say this is the beginning of the big cycle, the end of a 26,000-year cycle and the beginning of another one. And these cycles, the big ones, carry the most impact on, are you ready? Consciousness. It also impacts weather. You're seeing that, dear Australian. It impacts all manner of things around you, this cycle. All of these things are fearful to those who do not understand. Perhaps it's time. I want you to think about something. If the indigenous knew they were coming, if the indigenous predicted them, What's to fear? Because the indigenous are saying that this is potentially the highest consciousness that humanity has ever seen around the corner. Coming at you in ways you don't expect, starting to clean up the dirt. The establishment of the nodes and the nulls on the planet. There is definitely intervention from the other side of the veil to push you forward now that you've given intent for this kind of new consciousness. That's remarkable, and that's current, and that's happening now. I want this channel to give you hope for your land, for other lands, for this planet. It's not going in this direction you think just because this has never happened before in this way, or you're feeling odd or different, or especially those of you who perhaps are spiritual based and starting to feel a multidimensional pull. You're starting to see it. Things are going to change, aren't they? Indeed they are. Remarkable. That's the first remarkable thing, that you made it, and that you're starting to see some things that we told you about. I arrived in 1989 for this reason, to start to show you and tell you, you don't know what you don't know, dear ones. There are things coming that are not negative, that will shock and surprise you because they make sense, because they're not dysfunctional, because perhaps you can see the benevolence and the love of the Creator in places you never thought you'd see it. These are better times than you think. Hard for you to believe as you sit there now. Light is coming. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I know where I am. Of course I do. I'm in the hearts of all of you at the moment. And some feel it and some don't. And that's as it should be. There's no judgment for you if you sit there and believe this is so many words, or perhaps isn't really what it seems. I'm still there. And when I say I am still there, I am from the creative source. I represent a family you call God. I'm a messenger. I'm on this planet for one reason only. And that is to help you, if you'll allow it, through a magnificent shift. And it may indeed be one that includes many generations, but this is the first. We've told you that the timeline right now is the beginning. We've told you that the year 2012 was the end of the old energy. 2013 didn't even count. In the new energy, it was a recalibration time, and it really started. It's just the beginning. I say, kidding to you, do you know any 2-year-olds? It ought to tell you a lot about what you're feeling as you just begin to awaken to a new energy. There's curiosity, there's fear, there's wonder, there's confusion, and there's complacency. Every single human in this place is unique. You cannot begin to be like the next one. Their Akash is so deep, just like yours. Their experience is so different than yours. It is true, and we have discussed it, that there is an attribute of reincarnation where you come in groups. even in families. We've talked about this in terms of geography. Some of you come together over and over, and some of you indeed come from all over to be mixed together instead of one contiguous group. It's complex, but you're unique. How is it that I can speak to all of you in the same way if you're so unique? And that is because you have one thing in common. You all came from the same place. The creation story of the planet is a metaphor. And in the scripture, it has you becoming aware. It has the angel of God coming down and literally touching humanity and giving them a piece of creation. Awareness of light and dark. Responsibility. What you have in common is this. All of you are part of me, and I of you. The entourage which came in this morning will remain the evening, and right now is looking upon you in such a benevolent, beautiful way. I want you to feel that. Free choice, every one of you, to feel or not to feel. Some of you are literally saying, could it be so? Is this really a sweet time, a safe time for me? It is, dear one. Right now, we commiserate with you in so many ways. We celebrate with you in so many ways. We laugh with you. And again, we say to you that there is shift coming. There are new paradigms, and I want to talk about that. The grand new paradigms of humanity have been covered. Some attributes that you should know have been covered, and others that I can hardly wait to tell you about. As I discuss these things, which you will say are prophecy or things to come, I'll tell you that most of them are already here. They have begun, they have started. They're actually part of reality. And as they become more powerful, more known, more prevalent, more common, it will spread. And someday, you'll hear these words, and you remember them. Let history show what I'm going to tell you tonight will happen. And the reason I know this is I've seen this before. But mainly because I see an overview of humanity, and I know the ones who are working upon some of these things. I'm excited to tell you about paradigm shifts for only one reason. It's for the last one, and we'll get there. Do you remember computers when they started? Perhaps you've seen pictures if you're young. All computations, even for the office, were mechanical. Levers and gears, wheels, numbers. And they would clickety-clack, they would come together very cleverly and mesh mathematically and give an answer. And that is what you had, and you called it the adding, the subtracting, the dividing machine, the computer. That's what you had. And many of you marveled at this, that such a thing could be. And then it all changed. You added something to it that you didn't know existed when it was built. Something that was energy. It was the electronic chip or circuitry. Suddenly, the path of electrons, energy, would flow in certain paradigms, algorithms, to do the same thing that the gears did. Not only did you shrink the machine dramatically to something you could hold in the palm of your hand, but it could do so much more. All those electrons, all that energy. What a paradigm shift that was. You went from that which was mechanical to that which was energetic using circuits. This is the metaphor that's going to happen to you with medicine. Biology and healing and the medicals that you know of now that you call medicine is gears and levers. You've done a good job. You really have with what you had. Very, very cleverly and smartly you put together chemistry that would push and pull on other chemistry. If there is a chemist listening now, and there is, the person will know exactly what I mean. For the chemical pushes on another chemical, which pushes on another. And you create the desired healing effect and more. It's not pure, is it? It always comes with a price. Those effects that are in addition to the one you wanted quite often are dramatic. And you have to decide, do you want this medication or not? The most profound one is really controversial, called chemo. Let's cure the cancer by killing everything and then healing what we want to. And in the process, the cancer will die. That's pretty radical. This shows you the wheels and the levers. It shows you that which is crass, perhaps, not elegant, perhaps. Side effects, dear ones, will sometimes even kill you. There are those who would say the future is in chemistry, perhaps in genetics. Perhaps you can then alter the genes to do something differently than they were meant to do. Let me tell you, dear ones, you're going to have the same problem and the same issue. You push this and this reacts. It's just a smaller lever, a smaller wheel. Here's what's going to happen. It's already begun. The doctor stands on the stage and he starts telling you not about chemistry, but on a marriage of a multidimensional energy with chemistry. Not chemistry against chemistry, but energy instructing the chemistry that exists in your body. And the chemistry in your body then has an opportunity to react, to change, or not. I haven't spoken to the doctor yet about this, not specifically. It's going to be hard to track it, the way science wishes to track it, because it will depend upon the belief and the consciousness and the intent of the patient. And you're not used to that. I sat in a chair just like this over 15 years ago and gave you this message. Only the difference between then and now is that now you're doing it. The future of healing and medicine will not be in chemistry, period. It will be in the multidimensional energies that are custom, tailored, and designed to talk to the cellular structure of the body. All of it will be benevolent. There will be no destructive energy to wipe away a tumor, to dissolve this or that, perhaps through what you call a laser pinpoint coherent light. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about quantum energy that talks to chemistry and talks its language. And it receives the instructions, and the stem cells awaken and they do their work. That is a paradigm shift. Can you, right now, even imagine a future without chemistry? Oh, there will be some. But not as it is today. Dear ones, can you imagine energetic medicine with no after effects at all? No side effects at all. No leftover energy at all. It goes right to what it should, speaks the language of the cells, and that's all. It's coming. And it's not too far-fetched. Say goodbye to the levers and the wheels and the push of allopathic. It's starting to move. Agriculture is identical. What you have done so far with agriculture is levers and wheels. You push here, you use the chemicals here. Perhaps you even decide to redesign the genome of the seeds. All of this, high tech, isn't it? It's also disastrous because you're playing with the food of the earth, the very sustenance of life, of Gaia. And with good intention, you've decided to use all that you have in the chemistry, in the laboratories, and alter it. And you don't have to. My advice to you is leave the seeds alone. Instead, you're going to find the most robust seeds you can, the most natural ones, unaffected at all, and you're going to treat them with multidimensional energy. And the seeds will see it, and they will know what the instructions are, and you can triple the yield of that which you are growing. And it will not need pesticides because you have told it it won't be necessary. Can you make plants smarter? Yes. Yes. Watch for this. It's coming. It's coming. And you won't touch the original beauty of the genome of the seed. Paradigm shift. Everyone projects the future of the planet only based upon what is known today. And if you do that, you're stuck with your paradigms of levers and gears. With only so much you can do. And those that are invested in calling the future, they can't do it what they don't know. You don't know what you don't know. How can you go from A to B, and the B is in the future and A is today, and call it correctly? And the answer is you really can't, because you don't know what's coming. What if you could heal a population with energy, without chemistry, without side effects? What if you grow crops triple, quadruple? No pesticides, no chemicals on them, nothing passed to the human being, making the purity of the foods better than anything you've ever experienced. What if you could do that? Do you see what life extension is all about and what happens next? A paradigm shift that you have no idea how to project. Human life will start to increase in its span. You'll live healthier for a very long time. Getting old and aging will be something you read in old newspapers. For the inventors in the room, how much can you refine that buggy whip of yours? You know? You can make it different colors, different shapes, elegant, and it's still a buggy whip. And there's no more horses. I think you understand what I'm saying. All of this is going to combine with another paradigm shift. It also has to do with healing, only now you will understand fully within a few generations. Disease comes from the mind. Disease comes from the mind. And you might say, no, that's wrong. It comes from genealogy. You see, Kryon, my mother had this, and my grandmother had this, and I have this. The doctor even said I have the propensity for this. Therefore, I'm going to catch it. Let's back up that scenario for a moment. Let me hear what you said again. I'm going to catch it. I better do preemptive surgery, remove something so nothing will happen. I'm on top of it, Kryon. Really? You just told your body you're going to catch it. It's going to agree, and you're going to catch it. Did you know that your conscious mind has control over your chemistry to such a degree you can stop that now, and your children won't get it, and their children won't get it, and you won't get it, because the consciousness is going to tell your cells no. And your cells will listen. Once you decode that which is in you, which is allowing it, it will not exist. It will run from your body. Kryon, are you telling me I can cleanse my body by what I think in this new energy more than any of you ever could imagine? I'll say it again. Dear human being, I am in love with you. I want you to last, at last, watch what you say to your body. Watch what you say to others about your body, because there's been a giant antenna in this new energy that just cranked up. Listening to everything you're saying. Everything. What do you expect? Not based upon the past, but based upon what you know right now. What do you expect? This is a paradigm shift. A marriage between consciousness and health that cannot be separated or denied. Healing is changing. Healer, are you here? You have somebody come for that which you do. And they lay perhaps on a table, and you're working upon them in a certain way. You're giving them energy, you're moving it around, you can feel it in the body. Are you involving their consciousness? Here's another message I gave you years ago. Are you ready? Healer, before your patient sits or stands or lays down, you have a conversation one-on-one. And you make this statement to your patients. Do you give permission to have this energy heal you today? And watch your answer and mean it. And make them speak it out loud that they do indeed. If you want to, ask them why. Project it. Ask them the correct questions that you know need to be asked, because otherwise they're going to come back, and they're going to come back, and they're going to come back, and you'll be doing the same thing over and over and over. I'm talking to somebody here shaking their head. They know it's exactly what's happening. Exactly. Healer, it's not about having return clients. It's about having them one time. One time. A paradigm shift. Let me give you the last one. What's your relationship with the Creator Source? How does it fit in your life, and what are you doing with it? Why are you here? Have you gleaned anything today that is different than perhaps what you thought? And if you have, what are you going to do with it? There are those who would come to these kinds of meetings, which we would call metaphysical junkies. Attend as many meetings as you can and collect information. It's wonderful. And it's academia, isn't it? Notes after notes, book after book. You go home and you've had a lot of fun. There's a paradigm shift coming. You can feel it. There's a wind blowing in this room of change. You're going to have to get practical and apply it. And here's what I mean. This paradigm shift is profound. If you, old soul, are going to apply any of the new energies to your life and your way of life, what you do from here on out is going to change. It's going to shift. It won't feel the same. And you got to get used to it. As profound as the gears and the levers were for the early computers is the difference between the old and the new energy of the light worker. We've talked about energy protection and how that has changed dramatically for you. About how the light is broadcast from you in a whole different way than it ever was before. How people look at you because you carry an energy that you never did before. You are stewards of this change on the planet. Dear old soul, you are stewards of this change on the planet. Listen to me. Don't go home with notes. Go home with God in you so dramatically that you'll always remember this night when you changed. You'll always remember this night when you changed. There is a shift in the air that is so profound that it is going to change your life if you will allow it. This is what we wanted to say. Kryon, can you tell me what's going to happen? No, I can't. You know why? You know why? Free choice. It is time to discover the benevolence of God. Get out of the fear. If you do this, what will happen? You say, I will tell you. We're going to take your hand. That's what's going to happen. And the message we've given so many times is this. The free choice is yours, but if you choose to go with this paradigm shift and relax with it, there is energy here you are going to develop with this new consciousness. I know what's coming with free choice, and it's more than you can imagine. It takes a little time. And so it is.